All right, so welcome to the meeting. We're getting started at 7 o'clock. That's what we're supposed to. All right, thank you, Dave and Hartland for helping us get started. Does everyone have the minutes that I sent, the 4:20 and 10:04 minutes? You have it online?
I have it on my computer and I just opened it. So take a quick look.
You're right here. I happen to have copies of these printed. If this makes it easier for you to see them.
Considering how slow my computer is at opening documents.
That's the first one. The first one we're considering is the 4:20-23 minutes. This is the one that when I saved it, I overwrote it with the March 30th minutes. So I had to go back to the recorded file and go through the meeting again and make minutes, which I did. When everyone is ready, we'll vote on that. They give you minutes?
Yes.
Oh, that's the old minutes. That's the agenda. This is one.
Oh, this is
That's
for the
the
April.
agenda.
This is the April minutes. I thought had we not approved that?
April meeting minutes. I printed that twice. Okay. Is that one also minutes?
This one is October minutes.
You should have both October and.
But in any case, I have it now.
Let's do April first.
Yeah.
I thought I'd given you both.
Okay. Should I make a motion to approve the April 20th minutes or
Sure.
the minutes of the April 20th meeting?
And second, Kath?
Second.
All those
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
Did you say aye, Kathy? Anybody
Yes.
say aye? Okay, and unanimous, okay, thank you for that.
And I make a motion to approve the October 4th meeting minute. Oh, have you not read them?
I'm here with Mike and I see he's still glancing. through it.
Perusing.
Yeah.
Perusing. I'll second it. Second the approval of the minutes.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Yes. Thank you.
Can I just say, a part of protocol, since you got mixed, you have to have people vote, you have to announce. You can't just hide. You have
I
to
did
do
not
roll call.
understand what you said. Teresa? Was that you?
She said we have to do a roll call?
You can't, because you don't all in the same room, you have them at home and present. You have to, I apologize, but protocol says you have to do roll call vote.
So what does a roll call mean? You mean I call out each name?
You say, Steve, yeah, Michael Brown, yes, so-and-so, yes, so-and-so.
Well, in other words, say your own name and say yes.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
One of the reasons why I don't like to record meetings. All right, so unanimous does the same thing. Next on the agenda was just to discuss the Green Communities Grant Program grant status. There was a kickoff meeting that MRPC arranged on October 31st, and I went. And after some time in the meeting, they decided to have each one of us identify ourselves. So as they went around the table and identified themselves, I didn't hear anyone from the schools. So I said, is anyone from the schools here? And it turns out that there was not. And I said, well, it would be great if they were, because 90% of the money is for schools. 90% of the work is schools. And the school committee isn't even being represented here. So we basically arranged how to deal with it at that meeting, and we never really had a joint kickoff meeting. But they did have a subsequent meeting with the persons, I hope, that are interested at the schools, and hopefully Rob wasn't put out too much by having to go to a second meeting. But they'll do it later, and that'll happen. Most recently, today, it doesn't say so on the agenda, but we're talking about this program. We're still gathering, still gathered after that meeting, discovered that some of the signatures that we needed to proceed hadn't been achieved yet. And they were pursuing those, and as recently as today, Teresa and I have been working on that. In order to do to finish the annual report for 2023, they needed some additional information, which was supplied hopefully today. Teresa, do you know the status of that? Teresa? Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't get myself off a double muted probation that I was on. Yes, no, the signatures are there withdrawn. You should have gotten the paperwork around 4 o'clock-ish or whatever. If you didn't, I can see, double checking you and send it to you. But everything is all set and you should have, we have everything. It was completed about 4:30 today.
So hopefully it's all done. What concerned me, Teresa, today was that I learned that Sabrina, who was handling most of this, was not there. It's like I'm the last man standing. If she's out, so I didn't.
Right, yes, so I called into Sabrina and I talked to Eric, and I technically she was off today, but I did end up speaking to her. We just needed one more signature. We got that signature, but they didn't send it in. They sent it to me to send to you, and I asked them to CC you on it, to be sent in. So I'm not exactly sure. That's the only piece. We got all the signatures. I wasn't clear who it needed to be sent to, emailed to. So I asked them to send it to you too and get it so that we can get it emailed out tonight or however they do that.
I'm just one of the people who's interested in making sure that it actually happens. I have nothing to add to that at all. I don't sign it. I don't provide any of the information. I just want to make sure things are moving. And thank you for your help with that at town hall.
Okay, yeah, so I'll make sure, like I said, it's all signed and I'll make sure it gets sent to the right people.
I'm honestly, I cannot really understand a lot of what you're saying because of my hearing maybe, or maybe the speaker system.
No, I'm on the road, so I'm in a bad place, but
okay.
I will make, it is all signed and I'll text him the chat. It's all signed and I'll make sure everything's done.
Okay. Also, next item on the, thank you. The next item on the agenda is, after our last meeting, I was concerned about several things that are kind of out of our hands. So I requested a meeting with Eric and Teresa and to discuss several things. One of them was the decarbonization term introduction, that's potential for resistance to climate change and electrification. I received at that meeting a suggestion to incorporate or counter any resistance that we have to that climate change term, and was actually the self-reliance theme, which is valid and it will be helpful to become more self-reliant. So that you'll later on when you see the carbonization piece, the self-reliance theme is introduced. I asked them about what our quorum is because we were originally 5 and then we were 3, 4, and now we're 3, and I didn't know if the quorum was still going to be 3 or whether it adjusts, and apparently it adjusts with the number of people active on this committee. So the quorum is 2 people with our committee of 3. All right, and I knew we just had to resolve that to know when we have enough. All right, I did verbally explain to Teresa, and Teresa may already know because she's been to many of our meetings. explain to Eric also that, we have changed the idea of our master plan subcommittee's work from a multi-representative subcommittee based on the approach of energy goals and to one that's based on the energy goals driven approach that encourages whole committees, departments to modify their section of the master plan rather than have an individual representing each of them come to us to make a group. It seemed acceptable to Eric, and of course, Teresa's been aware of what we're doing. I did suggest at that meeting that we write a news release that might help with our TEC recruitment for 2 more members. Eric agreed to sign a news release that we author, and I suggested it must be second or third party facts that we put in it rather than, ones that I researched myself. I wanted to have MRPC provide, what our savings have been and not me saying what our savings have been. And I'm finding that MEI is poorly set up to give us dollar savings, what we've saved in dollars. And I'm going to bring that up at a meeting, will be tomorrow, a online meeting with the MEI folks. They have occasionally sessions helping people learn how to do their annual report and stuff like that. And when those questions are worn out, then you can ask questions just related to the program altogether. And I'm going to be there and ask a question regarding the availability of first of all, I learned that our annual report does not actually give us what our emissions savings have been. It was not on the annual report. And I got to tell them, why not? Why isn't it there? I looked for it myself, and then I found it in the MEI, and I asked Karen, where it is in our annual report. She says it's not there. You got to go to MEI for that. I don't know what's the annual report for if we're not telling people what the emission savings are. So maybe they'll be able to explain the reasoning to me. But I'd like to know that I'd like to have information in MEI and in our annual report that says what our annual savings are in dollars and in emissions. Emissions at least. The fact that we have 2 MEI reports, one that is shared, the one that's shared with the schools, and one that is ours, complicates the matter because they don't. There's no way in MEI to match them. So you can look at the savings that we've achieved in town, and you can look at the savings we've achieved at those 2 schools that we're responsible for, but you can't combine them. I find that to be rather lacking myself. And I know they can do it, they just haven't done it. And I'll make the request. All right. Any questions about my conversations with Eric and Teresa on these issues? All right. Next, I did create the news releases, and I originally created. I wanted to do one that was briefer than the other one, so I created a long and a short, and they turn out to be just about as long as each other. So I don't really know how much I say, but the concept is to, I guess if you read the long one, you'd get an idea, and if you guys accept that, then I would probably bring that to Eric. I did send it to you. There's a news release I sent to you. That one is marked with the last word in the last character in the file name is S if it's the short one, or L if it's the long one. We're looking at the long one.
Okay.
Because there really doesn't seem to be much difference. You do have that, Kath?
Yep.
Yeah. Teresa, did you get a chance to look at that over too?
Sounds very, very good.
I'm gonna have to, the 23.2% emissions reduction in reality represents the town buildings, not the schools. The schools, the savings are, in the low teens. If I add them in, ours is gonna come down. I don't know how to combine them. Karen Chapman said she couldn't combine them. So I'll bring it up tomorrow. How do what do we do?
In
I want
theory,
them
it
together.
shouldn't be hard to make
It
the
shouldn't.
calculation.
It-
If you know what the actual numbers were, not just the percentage, then you could combine how much energy each entity had in 2010, how much now, add them up.
Well,
But
this is a weather adjusted number.
Right.
Okay?
right,
It'd be nice to combine them, and it would be even better to have a dollar figure, but the dollars is a little bit more complicated, because you've got your monthly changes in temperature, they calculate, it all comes from charts. If you create the charts, you can, read off the charts, and you
yeah.
should be able to make it work. I think I could do it, but I don't think that, it's just not simple.
Mhm.
It's a big spreadsheet. What do you think? Do you think that's all right?
Yeah.
Would you guys like more time to look at that before I give it to Eric?
No, this is Kathy. I think it looks great. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if I spent an hour or whatever looking at it, I'd probably come up with nitpicky
I want you to,
changes or
because this is
whatever.
not Ron's committee, this is your committee.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that I probably won't send it to him before Monday. If you want, I'll keep looking at it, get back to me with, whatever you have.
Is that okay to do?
Oh, yeah,
We don't have to talk about it at the next meeting or something. I can just,
No, whereas
Mark it
we're doing a subcommittee. It's a communication with me. It's
Yeah.
like a subcommittee. You say that
Yeah.
just get us something.
all right, I'll
And
just
that
quickly,
becomes public. It becomes public when he sends it out, if he sends it out. So
right.
I think it would be all right.
All right, I'll make some suggestions, or maybe not.
Okay.
Ron?
Yes.
I was asking, the 2010 figure, does that include the adjusted figure for the parts that weren't included
the what?
originally?
For the what?
The monies that wasn't included, like the schools and stuff.
We
Originally,
made,
they weren't doing the oil, they were only
we
doing
made
gas.
corrections. Brent had me make, corrections. We contacted the schools. We got their missing bills,
Mhm.
oil and electric.
Yeah.
I actually, added some electric use that was missing, you know, that changed it. And I added all the oil use that was missing. There were thousands of gallons of oil missing early. So that is corrected.
Oh, okay.
I'll say this, that one of the things they highlight at each of the meetings when you talk about MEI, you know, which is where all this data goes,
Yep.
is that it's up to you, us, to check, to make sure there's no missing data. And I have not done that. I've not sat there and gone through 2011, 2012, you know, I think I did this back, I was personally involved probably in 2016. So since 2016, there's no one who has gone back to check the third party. The data is put in by people in Townsend, MRI, at MRPC, and also at that clearinghouse that they hired to input data. I have not been back to check the accuracy or the completeness of that data,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, it's a job, you know?
Well, yeah.
And when you look at it, you have to look at it very carefully because it's every meter, it's not just the building. Every meter, every electric meter, every gas meter, they report the gallons of fuel put into the vehicles, every fire vehicle, water department, every pump, every well they have has an individual electric meter. Some of them are already solar, but it's a lot of data to go over. And when you look at it, you have to look at it sort of carefully because you're not just looking for missing data, you're looking for duplicates and stuff. That's what happened back in 2016 when I looked at it. It was like a guy would go on vacation. I assume that the guy would go on vacation and someone would input the data for him. And he'd get back from vacation, he'd put in the data, and then he'd put in the data. So I had the same months appear repeatedly. I had to, delete something. So that kind of correction, I don't know if they've gotten any better at it, but those errors were there. And I think it was primarily Townsend's fault, not really their fault as much because we didn't give them the oil data.
Yeah.
We just didn't find it. But we have the responsibility of making sure the data is accurate and that we're a risk. It's a risk. I let you guys know it's a risk, but I don't think it's a big risk. That's why I've been proceeding. But it's a good question, Kathy.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll give Mike some time, and then I'll submit that to Eric. All right. I did create a quick Townsend Energy Committee history, and whether we really, I think that I would love to find a place for this just to be on a website, the town website, so that when someone wants to know about the Townsend Energy Committee, they don't have to go through every minutes that we have. They can look at the summary of what the Energy Committee does and has done. That's what this is for. I hope there's a place where they can put it. And you guys can, when you get a chance, I'd ask you to look at that too and make sure that, I didn't miss any, if there's nothing glaring that I missed. I included like the street lights and stuff like that here. The outside, I don't think I spelled out the exterior lighting at Squanicook that we did, but, that was Spalding. But, generally it's what we did.
Which document is that? This, I have this in Word, Townsend Energy Committee, short history.
I did send that.
Okay.
Want to keep that?
Oh, I'm sorry, is this your only copy?
Well, that's okay. I can print another copy.
I'll just make sure. that
I know where it
if
came from.
If I refer to it, then I'll be able to make sure I have the right, it was in one of the emails this week, attachment?
Yeah.
Okay, then I have it. You can have it back if you want. I wrote something on
Okay. All right, so I've learned that, next on the agenda, page 2, I learned by asking that we will not get the extra grants that we applied for in May due to high demand. We applied for all applicable grants at that time, and the ones that I was most hopeful of were ones that would help us with strategies to achieve decarbonization. And would be just a much closer look at the individual opportunities. We might be able to prioritize them better and all that if we were to have some help with that. We can apply for these again as they come up, and we will hopefully they would provide assistance in the decarbonization, accelerate our trajectory in the right direction. We discussed the short history already. Does anyone still think we need a formal message? Teresa? Can't tell if she's still with us. Teresa? Doesn't look like she is.
it. Let's see her.
I was gonna ask her if we still need to produce this note to the building, to the BOS regarding our change in accomplishing the master plan with energy goals. I've already talked to them. Chaz may have been there before. I don't think the other select person was aware of the original one, so no need to tell them about a change. The goals that we're about to discuss. The goals we're about to discuss do not have the formality that Brent included in our original plan, which involved several rounds. I haven't expressed it yet, but several rounds of inquiry to the town, open inquiry to the town to let people, make comments and stuff. We haven't addressed how to get these to the. I'm assuming we create goals and we send them to the building, to the Board of Selectmen, and they distribute them with instructions to the boards to say we'd like to include this in the master plan. Please get back to us by March 30th, or whatever, however they choose to pursue it. So that extra formality is not here, but to begin a discussion, I summarized and produced what I call the Townsend energy goals, and you got a copy of this there, Mike.
Yes.
And I did get a copy to you, Kathy. The last thing I sent, I think, was the energy goals this afternoon. You won't, unless you printed it out. Did you print them out? Did you?
So this is something that would go in the master plan?
No,
No?
well, we'd supply this to we'd supply this document actually to the, whatever we decide to do with it, because what I include, let me tell you what this document is. First of all, we had several different sets of suggestions for goals. One set that we all identify is the Shirley set. So, I took that down, and then I had another set, which I created myself from the things that I looked up online and studying and, reading and that sort of thing. And, there was a third set that I don't even know the origin of it anymore. But what I did is consolidate those, which are a lot of different things, all together. Now, if you open your document to the third page, and then flip one more. Now, there appears all the previous goals list that we had. And as I identified them as being addressed, I put an X at the end of the sentence, see? And I did that all the way down through set 3. So we have included most of what we've already thought of, all right? And I've expressed it differently enough so that we don't really need to talk about Shirley anymore. This is ours, not Townsend's, not Shirley's copied and regurgitated. It's our own. And it's all based on the overall goal of supporting and mirroring the US DOE and the Massachusetts DOER goals of reducing our climate changing emissions 30% by 2030 and to net zero by 2050. So we're not going to get, I have explained to you what I did here with this document, what I can, and we're not going to get to vote on it tonight. It's just too much, and you've got to have time to look at it. But I would encourage any of you, Teresa, Kathy, Mike, to come back to me with suggestions to be included if I haven't done enough, or eliminate, or if you see if you find something that's too redundant. Because there was a lot of that. It appeared very redundant. The Shirley thing really ended up being like 4 different things instead of 9. There were 9 lines, but there was like 4 because of the redundancy. And it sounded redundant because every one of them was designed to decarbonization. That's what it was for. So why not just say, that's our goal, decarbonization. And then this is stuff that you can do to achieve it. That's what I did. So I would ask you guys to look this over, see what you think about the idea. I would call to your attention that the last item that I chose to include here, the 11th one, is review the master plan. That's like directly, this is what the Board of Selectmen could send to the committees. And with directions, we'd like you to take a look at it. So review the master plan. Department Operations Committee oversight of Townsend laws and bylaws. Review master plan, Department Operations Committee oversight of Townsend bylaws, laws and bylaws to identify possible unnecessary impediments to energy goals. We could make that positive instead of negative. Ensure that we support. Yeah, I think I will. I'm going to turn that into a positive. Ensure that we support, because that automatically means we're not going to get in the way of it, right? Ensure that I'm going to turn that to a positive and say, see, just looking at this, come up with another way.
Yeah, you're aware that there's now a bylaw review committee. I'm actually a member of it.
Oh, good.
So, I think that that committee has asked various departments for suggestions on anything they think is worth a look or should be reviewed in the bylaws. And I don't know if the Energy Committee has been asked that, but certainly the Energy Committee could, if there was anything in bylaws that we thought was some sort of impediment or, could be changed to
The
more,
kinds of things that I did not include here, the details that I didn't include that concern me is that, maybe we've got sighting or contractor, things that they must do or, that don't, that they feel is in the way. And whether it is actually in the way or not, I don't know, but we don't even know what they are. But if I'm concerned about possible impediments to someone doing solar in the house. If there's you can't cut down the trees thing in place, or if the trees are on public property, maybe the town should say, if you pay for it, we'll cut the trees down, make it get solar, as long as it's not a whole forest, because the whole forest is absorbing carbon.
right, cutting trees is
Yeah,
probably not something we want to
so
encourage.
you want to have a balance.
Yeah,
But the idea is that if someone has an opportunity, the water department, apparently when they got their new structure approved and financed, the financing of a new structure says you can't put solar on the roof. It was like 14,000 square feet of roof, and they can't put solar on it because of that restriction.
and I wonder what the reason is, if there's any good reason at all.
I didn't get into it with the superintendent, but he's really frustrated about that
Yeah.
because he knows they use more electricity than Starlight. They're the biggest user in town, and so you want to know that we don't put impediments like that, or we are aware of them and we try to mitigate them somehow. Or we maybe come up with a process of letting someone override a particular element occasionally when it's going to reduce carbon, or reduce the cost for a consumer, for one of our citizens that, wants to put solar on their roof and they can save thousands of dollars a year, but can't because the public, there's 9 public trees in the way, on the south side of the house. So someone's gonna make a decision as to, right now, you can't get down to public trees. I got 10 feet of public trees in front of my house right now, on the west side.
Public trees, meaning that they're on town property?
Town property,
Like
yes.
the right of way of the road? Or
Yes,
whatever.
yes.
Yeah.
The 10 feet from the road is town. It's all stone wall.
Right.
There's trees growing in it. The crappy trees that, were, little ashes that came from a seed somewhere.
Yeah.
And no one intentionally grew those trees there. They're in the way, but we have a lot of poison ivy and stuff growing up on the side of them, but they reduce the light on my roof. I'm not too concerned about that, but that's the kind of thing that can happen. Will you give those people permission to pay for removal of those trees? And that's the kind of thing I see happening, that there's I don't think there's people really thinking about it unless they want to put the trees, they want to cut the trees and they figured out that they can't because they're not their trees.
Right. I've actually thought of wondering if we ought to protect trees on public property. So that's interesting. I mean, that's.
Whole forest probably.
Yeah.
But individual trees, I don't know how you want to calculate the balance, the tons of carbon that a tree, or, if you cut down 9 trees, we want you to plant 20 trees someplace.
Right.
We don't even care if it's in Townsend. It can be out in, Colorado somewhere that you grow trees. I don't care because it's going to reduce carbon,
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking of. You don't want to prohibit people from doing something that they haven't really thought of before, but they want to now. I mean, they don't want, they're aware of the fire dangers that exist here in town even. Think of a windy day in the fall, dry day in the fall. Boy, fire tear through this place, like, no, nothing. And so that there are real dangers that we can mitigate through these efforts, but, it just says take the awareness. So a little positive. I'm gonna add to the beginning of this, it's gonna say Townsend Energy Goals, initial suggestions from the Energy Committee. And this will be an early draft. So you send this out, we have a cover letter that says, that, we created this for, I'm gonna use the 2023 data, which should come out any day now, because we've been struggling to get the annual report done. But when they've done that annual report, the annual report this year has been changed over to a Excel thing rather than being done it was being done in Excel. Now it's being done actually in MEI. So I'm wondering whether it will actually have the emissions data now, because it's being done. I don't know, but we'll see. One more sheet that I created, we can talk about tonight. Climate change. I created a sheet called climate change. Now, the reason I created, I don't know how even sure how it would be used, but it would go on our website. It would be like in anticipation of some. There is confusing data. I don't know how aware you both are. Maybe you are, Mike. Maybe you are also, Kathy. But there is a subcurrent of so-called scientific information coming out that says that people interpret as saying that climate change is fake. You know, and and it's you know, we're going to run into it. We're going to face it.
Well,
I mean,
undoubtedly,
when it comes
we've
to-
all probably had people, saying that to us. I personally think, I don't think we need to, bend to that. I mean, if somebody doesn't understand or want to learn about or accept science, there's not a whole lot we can do about that. But I don't think we should be like that thing you mentioned earlier in the meeting about, there's going to be resistance, so we can't talk about climate change. We have to talk about.
No, we'll talk about.
We'll talk about it. Maybe
Change.
it's one thing if we say, well, there's lots of other reasons to save energy, sure, but there's no reason to not also, firmly say that one of the goals is to reduce emissions because they contribute to climate change. And there's just nothing we could, there's a certain number of people who just don't accept science, and that's it. Now, obviously, there's uncertainty. We don't know precisely how many degrees, whether it's going to be 2.62 degrees that the temperature is going to go up with this many emissions is uncertainty. But there is absolutely no question about the cause of what's going on, about why temperatures are going up, and there's no question, there's no alternative explanation. So it's not science if anybody says otherwise.
The way that I decided that I would address that, because I have had to do so.
Mhm.
I'm a limousine driver.
You have to listen to people.
Sooner or later, the conversation comes up and I tell them what I think. So I've been called a brainwashed energy guy,
Right.
and all that kind of thing. But, what I say is that, I recognize that heating and cooling goes on in this planet for millions of years. They're going on for a long time. This time, as we heat up, the last 200 years of human effect is on top of what is natural. I am concerned about that last extra couple of centigrade that we're adding that causes things like we see going on all the time.
Right.
That's what causes it. And I'm concerned about my children's future. I mean, just being able to go outside, never mind, living. And, that's how I base that's my justification for pursuing, everything we can to reduce our effects on climate change. And God knows over my lifetime, I've put a lot of carbon in the air, and I'm doing everything I can now to try to help reduce that for myself and future generations. My kids,
Right.
you got kids, you don't want to see them have to, put on a suit to go outside, that's kind of the shit that could happen eventually. I mean, if I'm exaggerating there, yes, but who knows? Maybe not.
I mean, there are parts of the world, maybe not Massachusetts, but parts of the world are really going to be unlivable, in, a couple of generations. Places that are already hot are gonna be, unlivable. So,
I don't know if someone's gonna force or may want to have, these issues on a ballot, Do we want to address climate change? Because it's gonna cost, we will have to pay money out of pocket, and there's gonna be some costs. Hopefully, we're able to, rein in and get as much help as we can through these grants, and utility programs and stuff. But there's gonna be some out of pocket costs. Some, which is very frustrating, like if you were to say that the high school was built, 5 years ago, and then 5 years from now, we're replacing the heating system, I mean, holy shit. Excuse me, pardon me. That's a lot of, that's a hard one to swallow, but
right.
that's where we are.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, certainly look at this. I mean, then the only thing I'm not clear on is, climate change is a vast subject. What is the point of this little summary? Like, is this, where would this go? And
It's to some people, they don't know why. There are people who don't make the connection between our heating systems and cars and the weather. I mean, they don't make the connection. And this helps them make the connection, that's all. And it is, it's not my information, it's the things in yellow were mine, and everything else is the United Nations. But, so what I did in yellow was try to bring it home to people who may not. Ed, in his presentations and emails regarding development of this, said several times that he was concerned about people not understanding or being the whole concept of climate change being too complex for people. So that's really why I generated that. Maybe you're not concerned about it, but I think there are people who don't know, when you come down to it, they don't know why we're doing all this. I mean, It's kind of obvious if you save money, but for the present, I have no way of telling people how much money we're saving. So I'm left with the emissions side. That's what we have to show.
right.
But we have saved money, for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it's, $70,000 a year. That's all far or more. But I could be way off. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the dollars data I'm talking about doesn't include the gasoline and diesel and that sort of thing, because if we don't have any dollars, they input into the MEI the gallons that we use, the diesel, propane, and gasoline, but they did not attempt to put the dollars in. And you can go back to there are records that show the average daily cost of gasoline in Massachusetts. I mean, recorded. You can go back and map that up to the months that we use the gasoline, right? And you could come up with a value if you wanted to.
Right.
And obviously, I want
Take some effort, or you could maybe not do it that finely, but get the annual average or something. Go and do it by year. Or,
Yeah. But, all right, so we're almost over here. You have any more questions about the climate change piece?
No,
You can
probably,
look at it, see if there's
Yeah,
anything
I'll be happy to take a
you
look
take
at it.
issue with it.
sure.
Any topics not, expected? None?
No, not that I know of.
Public here? None? We can schedule our next meeting now. Now, what do we want to happen? I would like to send out the news release before our next meeting. And I'd like to have us all look at, consider, mark up the Townsend Energy Goals thing, okay? Now, I'll reprint it with my markups that we've already made and send it to you both.
All right.
But I would ask you to be looking at it and make markups before our next meeting rather than at the next meeting,
Right.
so that I can include your suggestions to discuss the next meeting. That work for you?
Yes.
That said, I don't think we really need to meet again this month. That would be tomorrow. All right. All right, we're gonna close this meeting now. Come on. Oh.
So we'll either do it before Christmas or it's in January.
It's either before Christmas or. I think what I'd like to try to do is just have an online meeting, not necessarily here. Sometime later in December, hopefully out of Christmas way, to discuss the energy goals, any markups that we've done, okay? And then I can, hopefully we'll bring that to a point where I can hammer it down to a finished piece that we can vote on at our January meeting. Okay?
Yeah.
That sound good?
Yep.
All right, so let's set a date for that particular issue that we have to clean up, and we have to work together to do that. So, how about, we'll give ourselves time. Is December 20th too close to Christmas? Not for either of you? All right, let's do that. It's December 20th. That work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be better to have a meeting here for that? Do the markups?
Yeah, I would come. I
Yeah.
mean, it's only a 10-minute
Visually see
drive.
each other's sheet, you know, that could
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
You know, come here. So we'll try to do it here. I'm going to put at Memorial Hall. I'll have to find, if Wednesday is not available here, can I substitute the 21st as a date?
No problem.
Thursday's okay? Okay, 20th or first. That way, if this room is occupied on the 20th, we'll be able to still meet on the 20th, on the next day. 20th. All right. Adjournment, finishing the meeting at, anything else, guys? Okay, finish the meeting at 7:56 PM. Hartley?
Do you guys have to do a roll call first before you,
Well, it's not a roll call. You give me a motion to adjourn?
All right, I have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
Second.
please.
Second,
All those in favor?
So, well, I guess the roll call would be, I would say Michael
Mike-
Brown, yes.
Mike says, adjourn. We
Kathy
haven't
Thompson,
voted. This is not voted.
yes.
This is just the motion so far. And so all those in favor, Michael,
Michael Brown, yes.
Teresa? Is not voting. Kathleen?
yes.
Yes, okay, Ron, we are going to adjourn. Okay, we're adjourned.